Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is going to be the newest Pokemon game, and so we're looking forward to some new features and some more possible evolutions for the series going forward. With that, I'm here to talk with Dusty Gogoat and Veteran X Gaming to see what kind of ideas we can bring to the table that maybe Game Freak can bring to the table for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So everyone, give a warm welcome to Veteran X Gaming.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Veteran X Gaming, and I'm here to talk about some Pokemon. Let's go.
And Dusty Gogoat.
What's up, everyone? It's Dusty Gogoat. Welcome back to my headcanon. Actually, it's the vodcast today.
So it's my headcanon.
Yeah.
We're going to be starting off talking about one of my ideas for what they can bring to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and that is new ways to use Pokeballs. And before you guys think I'm crazy, I want to talk about the fact that I've been reading the Pokemon manga lately. And with the Pokemon manga, it explores the Pokemon world in ways that the anime never has and the video games never have. And one of those ways that really enthralled me is the way that the characters use their Pokeballs kind of like weapons for catching Pokemon and using them in fights with Pokemon. So like, for instance, there's a character who has a bow staff. It's a pool staff, one of those that you play pool with, and he uses it to hit the Pokeball as if it's a pool ball, and he does that to do really cool things in battle and ways to send out his Pokemon in specific areas of a battlefield, and then also to catch certain Pokemon with like certain angles that he wants to hit it like a pool game.
Is he swinging it like a bat?
Sometimes he swings it like a bat, but mostly he's using it like kind of like aiming like the.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. So what does he like throw it? I'm thinking of like a tennis ball, right? You substitute the tennis ball for the Pokeball, throw it in the air, and then just whip it.
He's catching
So
it.
you could do that. Like someone could have a tennis racket and just like throw the Pokeball, hit it, kind of use that in like different ways to like catch the Pokemon or like send it out in battle for like cool angles or something.
That's pretty
It might be a
interesting.
fun way to introduce that into the video games.
I think we've actually seen a lot of trainer classes. I'm thinking specifically in Generation 5 in what is that town? Castelia, or it's the one after that. Anyways, there's a basketball trainer class, there's a baseball trainer class. It's based after New York City, so you have all these like major league, sports players. And
Yes. And the telekinetic ones, like Avery from Sword and Shield, and even some ones
sure.
from previous games.
Yeah,
Like you see them floating the Pokeballs around.
Yeah.
Yep. Shoot, you can go back to Gen 1. Just go to the bug catchers. They have a literal net and bait and tackle box with the Pokeball. So
Yes.
it's all kinds of ways to do that.
Yeah, and maybe like, so what you were saying, Vet, is like going even just back to Gen 1 with something like that. What they could do is, even if we can't implement it into gameplay, maybe have an option for like how our trainer sends out Pokeballs or how opposing trainers send out Pokeballs for their kind of trainer that they are. Maybe they have unique ways to throw it out at the beginning just with an animation. It doesn't even have to be like implemented in gameplay. You know, like you could customize the way that your trainer throws out Pokeballs. You know, in Sword and Shield, how they talked about like having a better Pokemon throw or a better Pokeball throw, but then you never actually saw it. Maybe there's like different ways that you can customize for your trainer to do it. Like you could like select pool staff or something like that. So every time you start a battle, it starts with an animation of your trainer like hitting it out with the pool staff, or telekinesis. Maybe your trainer's psychic.
I'm loving all that. And it could be like different collectibles you can find throughout the world. Maybe you can do different missions to unlock a new animation to throw out your Pokeball. I really like that a lot. I love customization and collectibles in video games. That's freaking perfect, Johnny.
Me too. Yeah, that
What
would
I
be
want to know
cool.
is what I want to know is like, are these purely cosmetic, or are there some sort of stat buff that these items could give? Like if you swing a baseball bat and hit the Pokeball, what if that gives like an attack boost?
An attack boost.
Or
That would be
something like
cool. Yeah, and maybe if you do like a soccer ball, it'd be like a speed boost or something.
Yeah.
Or- yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's awesome.
I want to read the manga. That's
Oh my gosh.
they
Your
always have the craziest
creativity will
stories.
skyrocket.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so much better than the anime in my opinion. They're so much more creative with what they do with the world in my opinion.
Man, I gotta check it out.
You should.
Yeah, same.
You absolutely should. I highly recommend. Veteran X Gaming. This next one is actually something that you came up with. So why don't you go ahead and introduce us to it?
Yeah, so the next idea we want to introduce for Gen 9 is an out of order open world. So Game Freak and some of the promotional material, it mentions that this game is open world, but how open world is it going to be? Will trainers and players have their own unique experiences? Will it be truly free, or will it be, you know, you have to go into a town a certain order, or it's kind of level gated off that you can't access this area quite yet? So I want to know, like, hey, can we create our own experience? Kind of like what we did in Pokemon Legends Arceus. That was kind of like a renaissance of Pokemon. Like, oh man, we got so many stories going on out here. So I want to see if Gen 9 can continue that trend.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. So essentially, like, if gyms do return, right, we would want to be able to tackle the gyms out of order is kind of what you're saying, right? That's
Absolutely.
one of the things. What other things could we possibly tackle out of order?
Maybe you could capture like certain Pokemon that normally you wouldn't have like before the first gym. Let's say like, oh my goodness, I don't know, a freaking Scizor before I even take on my first gym battle. Just being able to catch Pokemon that like traditionally you would only find like later in the game, but if with enough exploration and curiosity, you could find, you know, some pretty tough Pokemon to take on early game challenges.
Yeah,
I think that would be that's so needed, honestly. Like when I think about a Pokemon game, it's not just the first playthrough, right? It's not just about post game after you complete that file. For me, it's like when I go back and play this game, whenever that may be, whether that's 5 or 10 years down the line, can I play the game in a unique way, right? Whether that's the Pokemon that I capture and put on my team, which would be, you know, that what you're saying, Vet, like if you can capture a Scizor on Route 2 or whatever, like that's gonna make your experience wholly different than anything else.
Yep.
And beyond that, really any sort of customization throughout the playthrough. If I can go to Gym 8 first, you know, the possibilities are endless.
And Pokemon Sun and Moon, they did something very similar to that. You could catch a Salamence before you go take on the first trial, but it was very hard to get. So, you know, it's a powerful Pokemon, but you have to be very, very patient in order to get that Salamence. So Game Freak, they've tested the waters with this before.
We also saw it in the wild area. You guys remember that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they gave you a huge variety in the wild area before you got to, what was it, even the first gym? Yeah.
Yeah, we had a huge variety in the wild area, but there were also over-leveled Pokemon. And while that was exciting, I remember when the press release came out about that, how like you actually can't capture them unless you have a certain amount of badges.
Yeah, but Legends fixed that. So like Legends, I mean, obviously you don't have gyms, but you got like the noble Pokemon that you need to face in the game, and alphas. But like you can catch them even if they're over leveled, but you can't use them because they're over leveled.
I was horrified playing the game. It was like the first Pokemon game where I was actually like fearful, like I was like anxious while I was playing because I'm like I'm gonna get crushed right now.
Yeah.
And then the first time I captured an alpha Pokemon when I was under leveled, really impacted me.
Yeah, it's a huge impact. Even if you can't use them, it's like, I did that, and I have it for later, so I can relish this victory when I can finally control them. You guys know my Gyarados story. This is
exactly.
Yeah.
And I know you said like the anime's, you know, kind of not as good as maybe the manga, but I do think a lot of us hold a lot of memories watching the anime, and I think moments like that make it feel like the anime, right?
Absolutely.
It makes you feel like you have this overpowered Charizard that won't obey you, but just the fact that you have it is like really cool.
It's huge.
Yeah. You got Charizard doesn't want to obey. I put him right in the PC.
Yeah.
I put my Gyarados on a farm. The Gyarados wouldn't behave, so I put him on a farm. That was too funny. I put him to
some
work.
Character.
I put him to work till he was ready to obey. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next topic. That would be a really cool idea for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and that is trainer classes. And basically, this would be something that I think could be implemented if the action combat mechanic side of Pokemon Legends returns in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. That's where I think this would get the most use, is having trainer classes for the way that your trainer plays. So you could have maybe more of a defensive class that your trainer is in, and so they're more bulky and they can take more hits from wild Pokemon, but maybe they don't have as much agility. Or you could have a speed-based type of trainer who has more agility and more things you can do with them as you traverse the region without the use of, you know, Pokemon or anything else, but maybe they can't tank as many hits or something like that. Or maybe there's some other complete idea that you have altogether for how trainer classes can work. What do you guys think?
Yeah, Johnny. So what you're describing is something that a lot of RPGs do already, and I don't know why Pokemon hasn't done this yet. The latest game, Elden Ring, you can choose like different classes in it, but you know you have different stats and things that you will excel in and things that you're not so good in. So this idea with trainer classes, yeah, you can get your buffs, but you know maybe there'll be like a downside with it, like maybe you can't
like
carry
that,
as many items or something. Exactly. And I think that'll also lend to more unique experiences that players and trainers will be able to have. I'm all for that. I like I said, I can't believe it took Game Freak this long to implement something like that.
That's a good idea.
The thing that I always think about is like how Pokemon was unique because the playable characters were actually the Pokemon. You're actually buffing the Pokemon. Those are the chess pieces in the video game, right? When every other RPG, the main character, the person or whatever, the main character, the avatar, is the one that you play as. So Legends Arceus did a cool thing where you're actually navigating the world through the main character, through the avatar, but you still have your Pokemon. I would love to see some sort of marriage between these two concepts where, you know, obviously it's called Pokemon. That's the magic. It's the creatures.
Yes.
But I want to see that. I want to see myself in the avatar that I'm playing as. I want to see how that can impact the world, my team, whatever it may be.
Yeah, so maybe more options for like how you can make your trainer feel like your own. While the Pokemon are sort of, I don't want to say tools, but companions on your journey that you don't have control over when it comes to movement options, obviously, because they're the Pokemon and you are the trainer, but you can command them, which is what you do in battle. That's kind of what made Legends feel so magical, in my opinion, was that the Pokemon did feel like companions that you're commanding, and your trainer is actually who you are playing as, which is what I think Game Freak wanted to go for, and that's why they made the game the way it is, rather than having like full-on action combat where you control the Pokemon too on top of controlling your trainer, you know? That's what a lot of fan games do, but I actually prefer the idea that Game Freak went with, which is you control the trainer has, you know, set things that you can do with them, and then the Pokemon is a companion that you command. So maybe what we're kind of giving an idea of here is taking that a step further and having your trainer also be someone that you can customize mechanically in a way that fits more with your play style, while the Pokemon still remain as companions on the journey.
What if you could level up your trainer?
Oh, that's really cool.
Yes.
What if you could do that?
And we kind of already do that with the gyms, right? Like the gyms, you know, those are like class, like.
But
right?
he means mechanically.
Yes.
So like a mechanical upgrade to your trainer as you
That's really
go
cool.
forward. That's good, actually. Like imagine if we beat the noble Pokemon in Legends, right? And every time we did, we had an upgrade to how the trainer can play. That would be
every
cool
time you
too.
capture a Pokemon without battling it, it's like your character, your avatar gets the experience because your Pokemon had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, like maybe a jump button for your character.
Yeah, right. You get a jump button, then
or
you get
maybe
a run
now,
button.
maybe now they can
Maybe
swim.
we can actually swim in a Pokemon game. Yeah.
Maybe now they can swim instead of drown. It's slower than Basculegion, right? So you'll still have the value of the ride Pokemon because they can, like, you know, give you faster traversal options. Like Basculegion will still give you a fast swim, but maybe now your trainer doesn't drown every time they touch water or something like that. Maybe now your trainer can jump so you don't have to call it a Pokemon every time you needed to get up just a slight slope, you know? Something like that I think would have gone.
So I'm thinking right now, sorry to interrupt, I'm thinking right now a little bit of a segue into our fourth option where we're talking about all this customization of our trainer. What if some of that customization was reliant on the clothing options, right? Or maybe the armor options that we wear.
Oh, interesting. So essentially what we're kind of segueing to is customization options for both the trainer and the Pokemon.
Yes.
So you're saying maybe we can have customizations for the trainer where the armor has an effect on the gameplay for your trainer or also the Pokemon?
I was thinking the trainer because it's like if our trainer can't swim, let's say, you suit him up in a swimmy outfit, right?
Kind of like
some
Zelda
floats.
Breath of the Wild, yeah.
Exactly, right? All of a sudden, exactly. Or like you can go into the fiery area.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, that's
you
good
can
idea.
endure the cold.
That's something I thought we were going to have in
that.
Legends, actually. So that's a good idea to bring back. Like, maybe have some sort of upgrade to the character to go to a fiery area or an ice area so that they don't freeze to death or burn to death. I think that's a really good idea, actually. But
I see
conversely, I think Veteran X actually wanted to tell us about some customization options for Pokemon as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the customization options I like to see for Pokemon are purely aesthetic because you can already customize the stats of your Pokemon with that, and you can modify with held items and things of that nature.
Yes.
But the ones I'm thinking about for Pokemon, like different like costumes, maybe one of my favorite Pokemon series is Mystery Dungeon series, and they have like the handkerchiefs they can wear, and you can change those. So I was thinking like maybe the mainline Pokemon game can introduce something similar of that vein, and I will cry tears of joy if Game Freak can make that happen.
Me too.
That's it. Yeah. So we already kind of have like held items in my headcanon. Those held items are essentially like clothing options, right? Like because we do have scarves, we have bands.
Yeah.
The EXP share, I think you like put it on your head. I think that's always how I've seen
I think
it.
that's how it is.
So you're saying give them those items and we can see it visibly on the Pokemon, right?
Ooh.
Yeah. How cool would that be?
That's something else they do in the manga.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, they give them the items and you see them wear it. Like they gave like a Poliwag
King's
the
Rock.
crown. Yeah, the King's Rock. And
The King's
so it would
Rock.
wear that.
Yeah. And it is a crown.
Yep.
You
And of
see
course it
another
wasn't
one
evolving.
You see a little one right at her holding a focus sash.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
And so like
And then
those.
I guess another. I mean, I think Pokemon. I think the Game Freak Pokemon games have always taken inspiration from whatever the leading media or like peripheral Pokemon game has been. We saw a lot of inspiration from Pokemon Go. I'm wondering, like, there's a lot of clothing options in Pokemon
you're
Unite.
right.
Yeah.
Like a ton of them. That's like one of the primary gimmicks. And we've seen that. We have seen like hat Pikachu or cosplay Pikachu. We've seen that. I would love to see more of those in the game, but not being limited. Like, I guess it's like if you make it its own sprite, then it's limited to the game and you can never bring it to home. But if you made it an item, if you added new items that are, cosmetic and have purpose, like I think that'd be a really cool thing.
So this is one of those jobs that they can actually outsource to maybe Creatures Inc., who actually does the Pokemon models. What they could do is like Creatures Inc. can create an asset for each of these held items, and Creatures Inc. instead of Game Freak, while Game Freak's developing everything else, Creatures Inc. can develop maybe places on the Pokemon that these items appear on them physically when we give it to them. So like say you give them like a choice scarf, right? So Creatures Inc., while Game Freak is developing the game, can develop a way for the choice scarf to look on each Pokemon. So like say on an Espeon, it goes around its neck here. On a Togepi, it like maybe goes around just like its whole egg or something like that. You know what I mean? So like something like that would be really, really cool. And that's a really good idea that you brought up, Dusty and Vet. So nice elaborations, actually. I didn't think of half of that stuff. So
and just one more point, it's actually also in Go. I mentioned Go, but we also see that in Go. That's like one of the primary
But we see it to
things,
a fuller extent in Unite. You were right about that. Pokemon
we
Unite
do,
has even more in-depth looks to the Pokemon. But I don't think we need that per se in a Game Freak game. It could be something that we could have for certain Pokemon, right? But like even just having like these like set assets and just have them coded to put on certain parts of the Pokemon every time you give it to them.
They just show up differently depending on what the Pokemon
because it does sound like a lot of work, but if it's outsourced, then it doesn't affect Game Freak in any way,
Yeah, and then what's up at?
Oh, I was about to say, if we were able to do this, like half of my playtime in Gen 9 is going to be purely customization stuff. Like I'm going to spend like half of my day like, oh no, this doesn't look cool on my Dragonite. Let me take this off of him. Let me give him this choice scarf, to see how it looks.
People would eat it up. People would eat it up.
I think that's the thing though. It's like people like us, right? If you want to call us trainers or players who are playing as trainers, like our search is for a unique party, for unique Pokemon, right? Because there's only so many, and it's like you have an Oshawott and I have an Oshawott, that's fine. But Legends Arceus did a really cool thing where you could see the size differences, right? But now, what I'm so excited about in Pokemon Home is I have 2 shiny Steelix that I've had in in the main series game. I'm gonna bring those to Legends Arceus and see which one's bigger. And I have another one in Legends Arceus. That means I have three shiny Steelix, and they're all going to be different finally.
Yeah, they're each unique, and you're saying that having these held items appear visually would be more ways to differentiate your Pokemon from them.
Yes.
Yeah, and the same thing with the trainer, the different ways you can customize your trainer. Again, it's all like catering to your own personal experience. And I think that it's something Game Freak could do, and just like anyone who works on the games in total with the outsourcing can help make happen, even if it's
I
just
hope
over
so.
time. Maybe not have all of this in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, right? But maybe if they introduce at least one of these things, and then add more as they keep going further down the line. You know, these are the ways that they can expand the series going forward. And I think that these are ways that players will enjoy, because I would say Pokemon, it mostly caters to a casual audience, right? And these are features that casual audiences love. Casual audiences love customization options. We just do. Yeah, I think that's just a given.
Yep.
And so this is something that they can do to expand. That's why people love Pokemon, what's that mode in Sword and Shield? Pokemon Camp so much.
Yeah.
That's why people love Pokemon Legends feature where you can just take your Pokemon out everywhere so much. You know, it's what we love about it is an intimate experience with our Pokemon with some customization and differentiation.
Come so far. It's come so far since Gen 2.
Johnny, you calling me a casual? You calling me a filthy casual?
I'm saying,
Yes, you're
obviously.
the Tim God.
yeah,
You're the
I love
Tim
it.
God.
I'm casual
Oh,
when
dude.
it comes to Pokemon. I do not play competitively, but obviously there is a competitive side to Pokemon as well. Like
Absolutely.
Kayla's not here on this podcast with us right now, but Kayla, as we know, she's the most competitive player out of all of us when it comes to Pokemon.
My
So-
niece, I just got her hooked up with Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, and she doesn't even read, but I would call her a diehard. She is obsessed. She can't even read. She's playing with the game. She's like, I don't even know where to go. Where do I go? I'm like, I'm
Good
addicted.
for
I want
her.
to play the game.
That's
That's
how
how-
I was with Pokemon Red.
I was about to say,
Yeah,
that's how a
right?
lot of us started with Pokemon.
Yeah.
We hardly knew
So-
how to read, but we played the game.
Yep.
Yeah, how fun. All right,
You
let's
need-
move on to the next topic, though. And that is different ways that we can have breeding have some like different mechanics for us. The way that I was thinking is maybe have exclusive Pokemon or maybe exclusive forms of Pokemon that you can get from breeding. That way,
Yeah.
because let's say that they continue what they're doing in Pokemon Legends, which is what I think they should do, which is have an easier quality of life way of doing the EVs and IVs, which is leveling them up with the dust and the gravel and the pebbles like they did in Pokemon Legends. So to give breeding a sort of purpose again beyond that, maybe you could have exclusive Pokemon that you get from breeding or exclusive forms of Pokemon, or maybe there's some other things that you can get exclusively from breeding that you guys can come up with. What do you guys think?
I personally don't think. I mean, we've had this conversation. I personally don't think that the Legends, like the hidden mechanics or the hidden stats in Legends, I don't think those are going to return. I think it will go back to the traditional Sword and Shield format or whatever you want to call it, like the hidden stats. That's what
so
I think.
Tedious. I hope not.
But
It
if
is.
we go along this line of thinking, I still think there's plenty of things that they could do and increase breeding and make it more enjoyable. I mean, the creators of Pokemon have said that they don't actually like people spending all their time breeding. I think
Good.
if they take breeding away from, if they move the competitive aspect of breeding away, right, and you get your competitive stuff artificially with like items, then what I think they could do with breeding is really have, like you're saying, give like additional cosmetic perks. I think that's awesome. That's such a cool idea, right? And what you're saying about like outsourcing, you have a Pikachu, right? You breed it with something, whatever it might be, and let's say a Skitty, right? And then all of a sudden you have a Pikachu that has like a pink tip of the tail or something. I don't know, right? Like
Yes, that would be cool. Yeah.
just like little things like that. Then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I've never seen that ever in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Any little
And
thing
it's
that
cosmetic. And it's cosmetic. So
Yep.
there's no incentive other than just for fun.
for fun. I
For
think
fun,
they
yeah.
need to make breeding a fun thing rather than
Yeah.
a boring, tedious, competitive thing. You know what I'm saying? Vet,
Yeah,
do you have any
because-
ideas?
Yeah, I really like that you brought up that breeding shouldn't be used as like more of a competitive thing, because it can be another way to like gate players off. They're like, I want to jump in PvP, I have a team ready, but I don't want to spend hours and hours getting the right eggs correct for breeding.
100%.
So, and a lot of other monster taming games, they do that. You want to jump into competitive, you gotta learn how to breed, and you gotta be ready to spend time. So if Game Freak can come up with something that's creative and fun with breeding, I'm all for it. And you guys have pretty much hit it on the money. Like, I have no issues with what you guys have mentioned.
Yeah, that's part of why I don't like competitive, is because like I don't want to. I do not want to go through all that breeding tedium.
That's why
and-
Pokemon Showdown exists. People just want to, all right, I'm gonna make my Pokemon, let's battle.
Yeah.
I feel
do
like
it.
I've spent my 10,000 hours already in high school and college. I spent all of that time breeding. I tried to trick myself into thinking I was shiny hunting, but I was actually just so I've done all that. It's fun.
I don't even
But,
like
like-
shiny hunting. So
Yeah,
like breeding
but,
would be
like,
maybe
I wanna
make
move
breeding
past
a way to
that.
get shinies. That would be cool too. Maybe
Well,
have a higher chance of getting shinies if you breed something like that.
That is currently a thing. There's a thing called Masuda method,
Oh.
where if you have two
Yep.
Pokemon that have, or I think one of them needs to be a different from like a foreign, right? So if you have an English game, one of the Pokemon needs to be like Japanese or French or whatever, and then I think the odds are like 1 in 600. So that is a real thing,
Huh.
and that's
Well,
why a lot of people do it.
Maybe they can expand on that further.
Yeah, I
possibly.
think so.
Yeah.
I love your idea, Johnny. I really love that idea about like the different, just like different cosmetic, like whatever. But like I don't know, like how can we like flesh that out a little bit? You
Well,
can do
like you
colors.
mentioned, like you said, like maybe it has like a different color at the end of its tail or something. Maybe there's a second shiny form that's only exclusive to breeding, or just new Pokemon in general, or like certain baby Pokemon that you can't get any other way. Like I think that's how it was in Gen 2. You could only get baby Pokemon from breeding, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe
Yeah.
bring that back, because currently that's not the way it is anymore. I think now you can get baby
Yeah.
Pokemon from other means. But just like different like any idea you have that could be exclusive to, or to make a Pokemon unique, that's non-competitive, like maybe just cosmetic in general.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
like introduce that to breeding, and maybe
Do
I
you-
think people would be more drawn to breeding for fun.
Do you think it's possible that we get like? Because I said colors. I feel like colors are really easy. Just
Yeah.
a color change. But like,
That is easy.
do you think it's possible for them to do, like a shape, like changing the shapes or the anatomy of the Pokemon?
Well, I said maybe different forms of Pokemon. So you know how we have like Hisuian Sneasel and then regular Sneasel. So like
Yeah.
instead of having a Hisuian Sneasel and regular Sneasel, maybe you breed two Sneasels, and maybe that way you get some like unique variant of Sneasel. Obviously not Hisuian, because it's not a Hisuian
Yeah.
Pokemon, but like
Yeah.
some unique variant of Sneasel that you couldn't get any other way in the game. I think something like that would be nice.
That's really cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really cool.
Yeah. So just like maybe an overhaul to what breeding gives us, I think is essentially what this point
Do you think
was.
do you think we'll ever get new baby Pokemon?
I hope so.
I think so.
There's
I would
some
love
cool
that,
ones.
I believe
yeah.
so.
I love
Yeah.
that. All right, but let's go ahead and move on to the next topic, which is upgrades to Traversal. And by this, I mean, we already talked about like trainers maybe having upgrades earlier. So by this, I want to talk about different ways that we can use Pokemon for Traversal. So in Pokemon Legends, we saw it at possibly the best it's ever been, I would say, where you had the seamless transitions for Braviary, Weirdeer, Basculegion, and Ursaluna. and so that's just 4 Pokemon, right? So maybe the different ways that we can have upgrades to Traversal be more Pokemon that we can use, or maybe different ways that we can use them for Traversal, or maybe have different ways that we can upgrade those Traversal options. So maybe when you first get a flying Pokemon, it can only glide, but as you progress through the game, maybe you can fly upwards with it. And then same for swimming. Maybe at first you can just swim on a Pokemon. Maybe you can eventually get an upgrade that lets you jump in the water with that Pokemon.
Do waterfall.
Use waterfall to go up
Whirlpool.
waterfalls. That's something I felt like was
Dive.
missing in Pokemon Legends. Is like when you get up to a waterfall, maybe have a Pokemon that can use waterfall, so you can scale the waterfall like you could in Breath of the Wild, or even in previous Pokemon games. So
Basculegion's Dex entry says that it jumps over waterfalls, and the first like couple days I was playing the game, I actually was like, I was waiting to see, like, if I could figure out how to make it jump, because you can make it jump, but it won't go up the waterfall.
it does not go up the
it
waterfall.
doesn't.
No. So yeah, something like that you could upgrade. Is there any other ideas that you guys have for how you could upgrade traversal options with Pokemon?
Yeah, for like surfing Pokemon, you could maybe upgrade the amount of speed that it can travel as well. So the speed of and even Pokemon that's on land, upgrade their speed as well.
Absolutely.
Maybe you can have lower encounter rates with Pokemon. You could use that as an upgrade if
Like a
players
built-in
would want that.
hotel.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely.
Well, hopefully the
And-
encounters are in the overworld again.
Oh, good. Yeah, absolutely.
So hopefully we don't have to worry about that anyway.
I think if I want to get greedy, I do want to say like, okay, this is how I would see it. Like, you get a gym badge, right? Let's say that you get one gym badge that unlocks, let's say like you said, fly, right? But what if it's a tool that you get or an article of clothing, right? Let's say you get like, what are those things that like the Falcon trainers wear? Like, let's say you get whatever that is, and then that allows you to only use like first stage birds, right? And then like, let's say like, I don't know, you can upgrade it somehow, and then maybe you can upgrade it 3 times, like the old rod, good rod, super rod. I'm thinking some sort of system like that, so like you do have flexibility, but there's still like a progression. Like you guys are saying.
That's a good fleshing out actually of my idea that you just did, because so for instance in Legends Arceus, we can just, when we get Braviary, you have all the flying options, right? But let's say, like you were saying, maybe you can get fly earlier in the game, but it's a level 1 thing where you can only use low level Pokemon. So that's why you can only glide, right? Because the Pokemon's not strong enough to lift you up. So like a Pidgey or a Murkrow. But then you level it up again, maybe you can get a Pidgeotto that glides like at 1 level instead of going down.
Ooh.
And then your highest upgrade is one that can go up as well on top of everything else.
And the logistics kind of scare me, because I'm like, well, that means I'd be asking Game Freak to spend time in programming every single bird Pokemon to fit whatever. I guess they could do that.
They could also do what they did in Legends, which is only have certain
limited
ones.
amount.
Yeah, maybe only have certain ones again.
Yeah.
Which like they could do both, right? Because if they have a game that only has around 200 Pokemon again, like in Legends, but it's high quality like Legends was again, like that's fine.
Yeah.
That makes it easier for them to have Pokemon unique things.
Yeah. Or maybe it's like the Pokemon, they're still kind of like rental Pokemon where there's like only, 1 or 2 per traversal or HM substitution. Yeah. But you still have that level progression with the item.
Which is kind of like what we had in Legends, right? It was kind of like rental Pokemon, but you're saying like have different levels for that. Yeah. I think that works. For sure. So that's good. Anything else to add on that topic? If not, we can move on.
Yeah, that one's smoked.
That one's smoked.
There are some rumors right now from some infamous people who have credibility leaking Pokemon information for Scarlet and Violet, and the latest rumor really does talk about rideable Pokemon. So I do think that is a feature that's going to be returning. I think there's also some evidence that suggests that Scarlet and Violet had been in development, or at least had been a concept. Like the concepts in Scarlet and Violet had been in development since Sun and Moon. So to me, Sun and Moon, that was kind of the onset of ride Pokemon. So I think there might be some connection there, but that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, we'll see about that. I don't know. I think it's been about a 3 to 4 year development cycle for Scarlet and Violet, in which case
maybe I'm using the word development
Ultra,
loosely.
Right?
Yeah, I think I'm not talking about like I'm using that word loosely. What I mean is like there just are some similar themes. Anyways.
So you're saying that they like came up with these concepts and have wanted to expand on them in each iteration since then?
Yeah, maybe? from what I understand, because there's like,
as they should.
Yeah. From what I understand, like there's like layers of games being made at the same time, and like if you're developing stuff for one game, those things aren't going to show up in the very next game a year later, right? They're going to show up in wherever, you know what I'm saying?
They might show up in a few years in a different game, yeah. Definitely.
Exactly. So what I'm really hoping is that Ride Pokemon do return. I think I'd put money on that, but...
Yeah. Oh, I probably just made some gross noises for the mic in the audience. Sorry, guys.
Didn't hear it.
I didn't hear nothing.
Oh, good.
You're good.
All right. So in that case, yeah, that would be awesome. We want to see different options for traversal with Pokemon for sure, or different ways for them to expand on that. But let's go ahead and move on to the next topic, which is going to be, well, I have this listed as voice acting, but it doesn't necessarily need to be voice acting. I think that the more broad topic we should discuss is dialogue delivery techniques from the Pokemon game to make it more engaging and interactive. So for example, during normal conversations in Pokemon up until today for mainline games, it's been no noise except for when you press A to go to the next thing. Like, I was thinking maybe we could have maybe like what they do in Legend of Zelda, where when you are hearing them talk, maybe the characters sigh like "aww," or maybe they say a quick word like "yeah," and stuff like that, which is something that happens in Legend of Zelda, and they've been doing that ever since Zelda hit 3D, like back in Ocarina of Time, right? So maybe they could also do like what Phoenix Wright does. If they don't want voices at all, Phoenix Wright has different sounds that play as the text goes along the screen rather than just when you press the A button to go to the next dialogue box. And Phoenix Wright takes it a step further where it's different pitches depending on the character. So like a more feminine character might have a higher pitched sound that goes and then like a male, more masculine character has one that goes
Yeah, I've definitely seen and heard that in other older RPGs. I'm thinking of Mega Man Battle Network, if I'm not mistaken. I think had a very similar system.
Probably. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon has it.
Yeah. I'm probably thinking about that as well. That's really cool. I think they gotta do something, whatever it might be.
More.
Yeah.
I'm not asking for a full movie. I'm not talking about like Final Fantasy Crisis Core, 7-minute. The cutscene. I don't want that. What I want though is what you're saying, Johnny. Give some personality. Nothing was more boring than the introduction scene of Sword and Shield, where you have this bustling stadium, and what's his name? Rose is in the middle, and it's silent. It's silent. Absolutely silent.
He's doing this,
and the crowd cheering. So like he's like moving his mouth with no voice, and then the crowd cheering sounds really canned, and like there's not even like that many people in the sample that they used for the crowd cheering. So it just sounds like a few, like 10 people in the back going, "Ah, yeah!" And it's like looping over and over again, right? It's like it was so immersion breaking, and it felt really bad to watch. Like it felt awkward to watch, and even worse is when Piers was singing later on in the game.
Ooh.
Remember, it was just his mic. You could hear the mic screech, but he was like singing into the mic and there was nothing. Just nothing. Just the mic going. And then you hear the looped sound of people going, boo, 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 boo.
My favorite is in Generation 5 in Black and White 2 in Roxy's gym. It's like the second gym. I don't know how they do it. It's like not actually a voice, but you can actually hear her. So, I'm sorry.
It is a voice.
It's like a rock band. It's like an underground punk like stadium, and you can hear Pokemon Pokemon.
Yep.
You can hear that.
That was a voice.
That's in the game.
Yeah.
In a Generation 2 or in a 2D DS game.
I guess I haven't released this video yet, but I've been working on a video, and in it I mentioned that like Pokemon Legends Arceus and Black and White and Black 2 and White 2 were the only Pokemon games in mainline with voice acting, because you have the grunts in Pokemon Legends that your trainer does, and then in Black, White, and Black 2, White 2, there's that girl who's singing in that gym. Roxy is her name, and she's singing Pokemon, Pokemon.
Yeah, O-N, Pokemon.
Yep. And that's like those are like the only two instances I can think of that have voice acting. There might be more, but like they're very few and far between for sure. And
I've only played my one final of Legends Arceus where I'm the male character, and I swear it just sounds like Link. It sounds like they took it from Breath of the Wild.
He does sound like Link. Yeah.
What is Dawn, or what's her name, Akari? What does she sound like?
I don't know. I haven't.
I'm not sure.
I've seen Kayla. I've seen Kayla play as her, but I don't remember exactly what she sounds like, and I don't think she sounds like anyone in particular. Because most women that you play as in video games that are like a character that you play as, typically when they have voices, they sound more aggressive, or you can customize them. Like in Xenoblade, you can customize the way they sound.
Like Siri.
Where in Splatoon, they just sound like squid creatures.
Yeah.
In like Horizon Zero Dawn, it's a more deeper womanly voice. Bayonetta, obviously.
They need to link up with one of these like huge corporations that have all this like AI data, right? Where they can just like Google needs sort of Pokemon.
Yeah.
So
they could. So like, there's not really anyone to compare that. It's a higher pitched voice in Legends for sure. So it's not comparable to like Bayonetta or the girl from Horizon Zero Dawn or 2B from Nier Automata or anything like that. So I don't think she sounds particularly like anyone, but I will say Pokemon Legends main character for male does sound like Twilight Princess Link a lot. There's a lot of times I do like the roles, and it takes me back to playing Twilight Princess, which is my favorite Zelda game, so I don't mind it at all. But
maybe I'll play it on my my GameCube later tonight.
Good idea.
Oh, that's nice.
Although I like the Wii version better, so
I've never played.
I like the Wii version better,
On the Wii.
or even the Wii U version. I like both of those better than the GameCube one. But anyways, moving along and trying to keep it back to Pokemon. One more option that I want to mention for the way that they can introduce dialogue delivery is we've already talked about how they can have like sighing and maybe short words for the characters or even the text box sound, but they could also do repeating voice sounds, kind of like in Banjo-Kazooie and Okami, where each character has their own unique sound that they do. So like, for example, your main character would have like a repeating sound like and then like you would have like maybe a character who's like a psychic sound like I don't know. That's something that Banjo-Kazooie does. Banjo-Kazooie does, and Okami does. And I think it's cute. It might not fit Pokemon's theming. I think Pokemon would do better with like the Mystery Dungeon or Phoenix Wright type of thing, or even the Zelda type of thing, now that they have entered the open world more.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like there's plenty of options, and so far they've done none of them. So let's see what they can do.
I am hopeful. I feel like Pokemon always has growing pains with the first entry on the new console.
Yeah.
And then they usually like round things out
They do.
at the end of it, right?
Yeah.
So
They already are.
I am
Look at
hopeful.
Pokemon Legends.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it took them 5 years, but I'm hopeful that
We see their
this
betas.
Switch title is going to be good.
Their new games are betas for the games to come. Like that's
Exactly.
how it is every generation. Diamond and
Yeah.
Pearl was the beta for Heart Gold, Soul Silver,
That's
and
what I
then
was
Black
gonna
and
say.
White, Black and White, and Black 2 White 2.
Yeah.
And then Let's Go and Sword and Shield were both betas for Pokemon Legends and Scarlet and Violet. You know.
They really were the overworld Pokemon. Then you have just like the hollow region. We're getting
Yeah.
off topic, but yeah.
And they were very primitively introduced until you get to the later games for the new systems. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll be easier for them next time now that they've upgraded to HD, and maybe it'll be a little easier. The 3DS was their first step into 3D. And you saw that like Sword and Shield was a really good 3DS game, but it wasn't a great Switch game. But now we're seeing them make great Switch games now that they've kind of found their way on the new system. So
yeah, we're gonna have to savor this moment in time, because as soon as Switch 2 comes out, we're gonna be right back to
Right
Sword
back,
and
yeah.
Shield.
no, I think it'll be easier
I've been
for
enjoying
them
this
because
whole journey.
I think it'll be easier for them and be better for us because we already have a better base to work with now. I think it's a huge step in modernization was going from Sword and Shield to Pokemon Legends.
Or
Just
going from 2D to 3D.
even that.
Yeah.
Or
but
HD.
I think
handheld
I think to
HD.
HD is the bigger thing because
Yeah.
going 2D to 3D was also pretty rough because the sprites that we had in Black 2, White 2, and Black and White were so lively and colorful, and then the 3D models we got for the 3D games on the 3DS were not very lively and colorful.
They were
But
dead
then
on arrival.
Right, but then in Sword and
Yeah.
Shield, they made them colorful, but they didn't make them lively, and now we finally have lively and colorful, which is, I think we have a good base for just the HD era in general now. I think they're like
Yeah.
10 years too late to the HD era.
Yeah.
Like Sword and Shield wasn't it, and then Legends is finally it, but that's like, what, over a decade after we've had HD games that have had these quality of life things that should have been there a long
Also,
time
their
ago.
track record being on like 2D, making 2D games or on handheld games, there's a lot of like corners you can cut with that because of the small screen size.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
we never minded it back then. I never
No.
minded any of these limitations back in like Sun and Moon or X and Y. But
I was playing
seeing it on
Fire
the
Red.
Switch and Sword and Shield is just off-putting, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
And your mind kind of fills in those gaps and those blanks
Yeah.
that you would normally see in 3D. In 2D and like handheld, it's like, oh, I understand this. I can imagine that this signpost, it doesn't have actual text on it, but the squiggles on it, it gives it definition and character. So, but in
You can't
3D,
have that
you
in
can't do
HD.
that.
Yeah, you
Nope.
can't fill in the blanks
You
with
can put real words on there.
Yeah.
I was playing Fire Red, and I was in the what is it, like the Burn Tower in Cinnabar Island, and I never noticed this growing up, but like when you leave it's like right when you go up the stairwell, you can just walk on the railing. Like there's like details like that I never noticed as a child, as like just growing up. But when I play those GBA games on my GameCube on the TV and they're blown up, you see all these like corners that they're cutting.
Yep,
So
definitely, and that's part of what I think Sword and Shield got so much flack for. Is it was a 3DS. It was all the same assets from the 3DS, but on the big screen, and so we noticed that. You probably didn't notice it as much if you played your Switch handheld, right? But like playing it on the TV, it's so noticeable. But Pokemon Legends looks fine on both, you know, because it has turning animations for Pokemon. It has your Pokemon looks up and down and side to side now, which it didn't do in Sword and Shield. You know, things like that just go a huge way just in modernization, and I think they finally reached it. Again, granted, it's 10 years too late, but I think technology has also slowed down substantially since reaching the HD era. So now that they've caught up, there's not much more of the progression that they have to do when it comes to the visuals, you know? The rest is just like quality of life stuff and more expansions on what they've already created. Like we were talking about, the clothing that you can get them to wear when they have held items or stuff like that, you know? That would be an expansion, you know? Instead of something that they really have to like learn that's super new and modernized compared to what they know. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the next topic because we got 3 more, and these ones are more or shorter, so we don't need to spend as much time on them. But Veteran X, this next one is your idea. Go ahead and tell us all your thoughts on why you want it and what it is.
Yeah, so I really think Game Freak could do with introducing achievements to trainers, and you see it within a ton of video games, regardless of genre, console it's on, platform. You see achievements everywhere. PS5 has trophies, Xbox has their achievement systems, and so on and so forth. Steam achievements, and I think Game Freak can introduce like unique achievements. Like say you get every hidden item within an area, you could get like a star or like a record of that put into like a journal, and it captures all of these achievements for you, and maybe you could cash them in for like different prizes or unique items at an NPC within the game. So that way there's like an incentive for players to go achievement hunting, and you can get rewarded for it. And they have to find that nice balance to make sure that achievements aren't borderline impossible and like too freaking easy, you know, because you wouldn't want to just put like gimme achievements within the game.
So I just thought of this right now. I feel like in Pokemon, the Pokedex is the achievement, right? Because you were talking about like getting a reward. Yeah.
Or especially in Legends, I should say.
Yeah, Legends does like a great job at it, where it's like not just completing the dex, but there's all these other things that you can do.
There's things in the dex entries that you have to fill out. Yeah.
That you mentioned getting a reward, and since generation at the back end of Generation 5, every game since, when you complete the national Pokedex, you get the shiny charm, which encourages players to complete, and then the reward is you get more shiny Pokemon to show off to your friends. This is just a thought I had just right now. I was thinking of some other stuff before we started the show, but I don't know if that throws a wrench in anything.
No, I think that actually makes sense. Like Veteran X is mentioning the achievements. I think the closest thing we've had to that is the Pokedex in Pokemon Legends Arceus, or even like in like Pokemon Snap, you know? So I think what you're saying is like maybe either have a separate achievement system from the Pokedex, or maybe keep the kind of achievement system that we have from Pokemon Legends Arceus with the Pokedex, and maybe give incentives or prizes for doing that. Like maybe you get money for doing it.
Incentive is what I need personally.
Yeah. Customization options. I'll do all those achievements.
Yeah. And maybe you can unlock customization options from it. That would be really nice.
I like that. Yeah. That's what they do in Pokemon Go. I guess it's you can buy them, or the rewards.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, when you swipe on the stops, there's like different tasks that you can do.
Well, there's tasks, but I think there's also like there'll be like events or like I don't totally know, but there's something where you can get rewarded with items clothing options. You can get new clothing options in Pokemon Go for your trainer, but you could also purchase them.
But I think something like that would work really well, I think.
In Generation 5, there was it's called the medal system, and you got medals. They're not badges, they're medals. And there were so many, but the thing is, there was nowhere to look at these achievements. So you got the achievements. They were like obscure things like trade with someone 100 times. But
I
it'd
remember,
be like
yeah.
it'd be like 1 time, 5 times, 10 times, and this guy would like harass you.
He
Like,
would
if you
he would
talk
hold
to
you
him-
there. Yeah, he would hold you there
Yeah.
until you finished getting all the achievements that you hadn't gotten up until that's talking to him again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
but you
more of a
couldn't-
chore than anything. Yeah.
It was. So if like the Pokedex in Legends Arceus, if you could actually view that, I think that would help a lot.
I agree.
Not to stay on this for too long, but I think personally, I've actually never loved the idea of achievements on like a console.
Yeah,
like there's
same.
always like console achievements. I guess you could show them off to your friends.
Yeah.
But I feel like it needs to be in the game.
That's
Like,
why
I
it would
wouldn't
be
wanna-
more meaningful, right? Is if we
Yeah.
had incentive and if we had it tied to the Pokedex. I think, like we did in Legends. Like I think that would make it meaningful, even for you who doesn't, and me who don't
Yeah.
really care about.
Because it feels like
otherwise.
part of the game. Like that's the post game.
Like, why are getting achievements in the Stanley Parable so fun? Because they break the fourth wall every time, you know?
Yeah.
And then, like, with Pokemon, it could be the Pokedex, you get things for getting the achievements. But most other games, it's just like you get the achievements and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
I got that.
And also, I was thinking about some achievements outside of just catching Pokemon. Like maybe you get achievement for winning your first PvP match, or you get an achievement for beating the gym leader on the rematch without having a single Pokemon faint. Things like that, and they could get creative in that nature with all kinds of achievements.
Kirby and the Forgotten Land also ties achievements to the game. So you get more Waddle Dees if you complete achievements in each level. And when you do that, when you get more Waddle Dees, you know, you can upgrade the Waddle Dee town more. So something like that, I think, could also
Like
be used
that.
for Pokemon. Maybe upgrade your something, maybe have a house
Yeah.
in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, or
Will we have a
maybe the
house?
town.
Oh.
or
They gotta
maybe
bring
upgrade
that
the town.
back. That was such a thing in the
Yeah.
earlier games where you would do mystery gift and you'd get like dolls and you get these like a rug, right? And you could decorate your room. I would love.
Or like kind of like bases.
I would love more of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bases, or
the-
like an actual house instead of a base or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could
Yeah.
be awesome for sure. That's actually another idea that we could have had on this list is like bringing back bases or houses or have like house customization.
Yeah.
That'd
That's
be
a really cool idea.
nice. But we can actually
Yep.
talk about that in a separate video too.
Yeah.
All
What's
right.
the next? What's the next one?
But the next one is another idea from Veteran X, which is difficulty settings. Do we need to explain this one?
Yeah.
I mean, some people.
What kind of
okay, so-
difficulty settings would you want, Pat? Let's go there.
Yeah, so if it is open world and truly freedom open world, I don't think it would necessarily need a difficulty setting. But if it's a little bit more linear, I was thinking like maybe it could have tougher trainers. You would get less XP maybe. But some of the games have just been very straightforward within Pokemon. You literally can press A with some of the games. As long as you got a super effective move, you can breeze through the video game with no problems. So I was thinking that Game Freak could have some creative ways to make it difficult. Wasn't it Black 2 and White 2 that had
Yeah.
a difficity setting?
Yeah,
But you don't
had to
get
beat
it.
the game.
But you don't. Yeah, you gotta beat the game first
And you
to
gotta
unlock
reset your game.
it. It's
Yeah,
but
no
it's
one
so
wants to do that.
counterintuitive.
Yeah, no one
yeah.
wants
It
to do
really
that.
is.
What they could
So-
do is kind of like, again, I always harken things back to Zelda, but Zelda Breath of the Wild especially, it had not a master mode. It was called like a hero. No, not a hero mode. either.
Master mode.
Was it master mode in Breath of the
Well,
Wild?
Zelda
Or was it
Ocarina
like
of
wild
Time.
mode? It was. Yeah, it was master mode in Ocarina of
has,
Time.
Master
It was
mode,
hero
yeah.
mode
Master
in
Quest.
Twilight Princess and Wind Waker HD.
Yeah,
But I think
that's
Breath of
right.
the Wild was like wild mode or something like that. And in that one, what it is like they revamped how the enemies AI works and how they like are set up across the map. So instead of like running into a group of enemies, and sure they're more powerful in this new version, but like instead of just running into a group of enemies that are just kind of there with a standard setup of like a tank in the middle that you can blow up and blow them all up, they like float on a board with some balloon items that hold them up in the air and they're shooting arrows down at you instead, right? So you have to pop those air balloons to beat them. In Pokemon, the way that they could introduce that is maybe what would normally be like a single battle, maybe it is a double battle. Or maybe revamp the kinds of Pokemon that they use. So instead of having a single type Pokemon at the beginning when you fight like Tony and his Caterpie, maybe now it's like Alejandro and his what's a dual type bug type. Beautifly, sure.
Dustox.
But like let's say like a level 1 Pokemon, but like with dual typing or something like that. You know, it's a little bit more
Dual
risky.
Yeah, so
Bounce
I
left.
think you guys kind of brought it up, but like if Scarlet and Violet are more like Sword and Shield, I think we would have to get like into the mechanics. of like, you know, it just get more creative than just a level up. But if the game is a lot more like Legends Arceus, you could even, I'm thinking of GTA, just turn up the aggressiveness
that too.
of Pokemon.
I think
like
they do both, though.
the gym leaders could
it's
use
like-
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like the gym leaders, they can have like weather teams, like a sandstorm team. So it'll be based upon themes instead of like just monotype, and that alone will just ramp up the difficulty immediately. Because I played
just like
some
another Pokemon.
Yeah, exactly. Something you don't even
instead of two.
expect.
They
Yep.
could also do
'Cause
like what they did in BDSP, where they gave them all not only perfect IVs and EVs in the Elite Four,
yeah.
but they gave
Held
them
items.
competitive held items and competitive move sets, so they could do that for a
Nice.
difficulty setting as well.
Yep. Absolutely. I played ROM hacks that done that just exact thing, and they are very difficult in the good way.
Yeah.
That's the thing. There's such a huge community of people. I feel like one of the leading Pokemon niches on YouTube, at least,
Nuzlocke.
is Nuzlocke, but also ROM hacks, because there's a
Randomizers.
subsect of people. Yeah, there's a subsect of people who like are not getting their fix from replays of Pokemon games. And personally, I don't care for a challenge in that way. I mean, it's fun one time, but that's not what I come to Pokemon for.
Same.
And I think you would think Game Freak would want that in their corner. You'd think they would want those millions, billions of views and people like watching official Pokemon games and official Pokemon formats. You'd think that's what they would want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's literally why Nuzlocks and randomizers and ROM hacks exist, is because, like you said, that itch, that longing is not being fulfilled within subsequent playthroughs of Game Freak's titles. At least the older ones. Legends Arceus is kind of broken that mold.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah.
No, I think we left this one smoked too. That was a good tackling of the difficulty setting. So let's go ahead and go to the last topic for today, and this one was from you, Dusty Go-Go.
Yeah, so we've gotten very accustomed to regional form of Pokemon, right? You get a new Pokemon, give it a new regional form, then it gets an evolution. We got lucky with then further evolutions, essentially brand new Pokemon off of regional Pokemon. But what I want to see is a return of cross-generation evolutions. We saw this. We saw that within the first 4 generations, this was a mainstay, right? Generation 2 gave a whole slew of Gen 1 Pokemon new evolutions.
And
Same thing with Gen
pre-evolutions.
3, and pre-evolutions.
Gen 4 did it the second most, I think, right?
Yeah, Gen 4 really like made it a thing, and then we didn't really see that again until I want to say Legends Arceus, which is still kind of up in the air. It's like debatable, but like Pokemon like Ursaring did get flat, straight up new evolutions. And I think what this does is it really makes the entire Pokemon universe and the regions and the generations feel interconnected, like it's one whole thing. Like where now when I go back and play Gen 1, like truly Gen 1, Red, Blue, and Yellow, I would think in my head, okay, well then these Pokemon from Gen 8 do exist, right? Because I could evolve them. I could. I mean, the mechanics aren't there, but and I think I do want to see games like this. Like I want to see future remakes also capitalize on this. I think BDSP did do a good job. Actually, wait, did it? Could you evolve? Yeah, you could get. I'm getting confused. I know Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, Fire Red, Leaf Green didn't allow you to evolve things. Like you couldn't evolve Zubat into Crobat until you got the
BDSP
national
does the
dex.
same thing. You can't evolve past Gen 4.
Oh, you can't? Okay. So that's something
There's
that
no
I think
Sylveon, for example. There's not
Yeah.
even fairy types.
Exactly. You're right. There's no
Yeah.
fairy types?
Oh, but there's fairy
No.
typing in it, but there's no fairy types that were created after Gen 4.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Yeah, so I want to see that improved in the future.
Yeah, me too. I actually think
Yep.
for a while what they were doing was replacing those new evolutions with mega forms, because that way you
Yep.
don't have
Yeah.
to make another dex entry and hit that 1,000 mark of Pokemon sooner, things like that.
No, I think you're right. Yeah, we got a lot of forms for that same reason.
And they gave it to Pokemon that I think needed new evolutions, like they gave it to Cloyster, who was pretty weak Pokemon, I think. They gave it to Absol, who was a pretty weak Pokemon. There's still some Pokemon, though, that I think could really use it, like Delibird is pretty bad, no matter what.
Yeah,
It doesn't have a
very
Mega
bad.
Form, doesn't have a Mega Form, doesn't have an evolution, nothing, so maybe they could give an evolution to that.
Yeah, like Pokemon like Sableye and Mawile. I remember they got Mega Forms, and that was cool in the moment.
Yeah.
But as soon as we went to Gen 7, or I guess when we went to Gen 8, they became useless. Like I have a
No more
Kangaskhan.
megas.
Yeah, I have like a Kangaskhan from Gen 6 in Sword and Shield that used to be good. It's like set up.
Yeah, but
Pinsir
it's not
is-
anymore because it doesn't have its Mega Evolution. Yeah.
Exactly.
And it doesn't have a
So-
Gigantamax or anything.
No,
Yeah.
I want to see those cross-gen evolutions. I mean, I think they're really exciting, but it also, like I said, I want to see more connection between all the different regions. We're starting to see that with the regional forms. Like I think that is fun, but they feel like distant cousins as opposed to
I agree.
like part of the same lineage.
Exactly. I agree.
Yeah.
Very much so. It makes me feel like it's disconnected for sure.
Yeah, and I'm curious how those legends, Arceus evolutions. I guess I was gonna say I'm curious how they're gonna like do those in the future. Like if Ursaring is in Gen 9, can you evolve it into Ursaluna? You would think so if you could get that item.
Yeah, maybe. We'll
Ooh.
see. We will
Yeah.
see. But that is part of what makes it exciting, waiting for these
Yep.
games. Let's hope that they have a lot of the things, at least the core things that we look forward to from the series previously implemented into Scarlet and Violet, get the best of all the worlds, and then maybe some of these ideas or some other creative ideas that Game Freak can come up with that we can't come up with. Who knows? So this has been a really, really fun discussion. You guys in the audience, I am more than certain have some great ideas as well. Why don't you go ahead and let me know what those are down in the comments, and me, Dusty, and Veteran X are all going to look at those and respond to you guys. Let's go ahead and tune in for more of these vodcasts in the future. I hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I hope that Dusty Go-Goat and Veteran X Gaming enjoyed their time here as well. You can find the links to their channels in the description of this video. So I hope you do check them out and subscribe to them, and also subscribe to yours truly. But until the next video, everyone, I've been JotoJohnny. They have been
Veteran X, baby.
Dusty Go-Go, welcome everyone. Welcome. I'm doing an
no,
doing
it's
an intro.
goodbye.
Goodbye everyone. Good to see you. Goodbye.
Peace.
Yeah, I hope you guys loved it. All right, peace out.